I'll say this real quick. I operate off the 3 P. I call them the 3 Ps. I call it passion, patience, and persistence.
Yeah.
And I think those three things are ingredients to success. And so if you don't have passion, persistence is very important. Just keep at it. And, patience is sort of right there with it. Like you're not, if you expect to be a millionaire, if that's your goal, if you expect it to happen in a year, you're fooling yourself. It could, sure, it happens, but you have to be patient.
Yeah.
Patient and persistence will get you a long way. And then if you have passion, that even makes it even better.
Hello, everybody. We appreciate you guys joining in and listening on iTunes or Spotify or watching on YouTube. We've got a wonderful guest today, Mr. John Knight. He's the founder and owner of two companies, Ment Apparel and Beer Hop. He's a graduate of the University of Oklahoma. After starting a career in film, video, and photography, he decided to follow his father's footsteps and begin a career in graphic design. His clients range from sports teams to breweries and restaurants. His impact in the emerging Oklahoma craft beer scene is undeniable. He's the genius behind our can designs at Skydance Brewing Company. And despite being a Cardinals fan, he's just an all-around great guy. Glad to have you on board, John.
Thanks, man.
We got Casey here in the studio back there making sure everything's going good. How's it going, Casey?
Man, everything's going good, man. Pumped to have John in today, man. I kind of did a little research. I checked him out, man. Went and checked out his websites, his Instagram, and stuff like that. This guy does some pretty amazing work.
Yep.
Which I did see a little bit of his can design on your stuff, and that's how I got to know and got to meet him at one of your release parties for one of your beers, and man, just all around cool guy.
Yeah. What are you drinking over there, Casey?
Man, I've got some Oklahoma Gold today.
Nice.
Man, it's can't beat Skydance
I
Brewing.
gotta admit, man, I saw we were working in here the other day, and I caught Casey drinking something he's not supposed to be drinking.
Well, man, it was all I had, and I wanted a beer. Somebody left it up here. I hated it. When I opened it, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna suck." Yeah.
A nice cold Bud Light he had sitting over there on the table. I was trying to film a little video as well, and accidentally caught this bottle of Bud Light in the Skydance Brewing vlog. We cut that part out, though.
Hey, that'll teach you not to stock my fridge. That's all I'm saying.
Was it at least cold?
It was. It was real cold.
All right, well.
What's Mr. Knight got in his glass?
Man, I got some Oklahoma Gold as well. I'm on my second, though. I started with the DDH. Fancy.
Oh, there we go.
That's I think, my top, maybe.
Yeah?
That and Sovereign Nation, yep.
Nice.
Those are my two faves.
Cool. So John's working with us on a bunch of different can designs. He's done our T-shirts. He's done a lot of different work for us, and he's got, like we said, a big impact on the craft beer industry in Oklahoma. So this will be a fun conversation, and we'll talk about some stuff that maybe we've never talked about before. We've known each other for a little while now. We've had a lot of pretty cool conversations, but let's get to know Mr. John Knight. So, John, let's talk about your two companies, Ment and Beer Hop. What do you guys do with Ment and Beer Hop?
Well, I'll start with Ment. So Ment is it's a full-fledged retail and wholesale apparel company. So on the retail side, which is a smaller footprint, we come up with designs and we sell things at either pop-ups, local boutiques, and mainly on our website. Now that part of the business, it will be the biggest, probably growing over the next decade or so. Mm-hmm. But the one that pays the bills, the one that really helped us grow so much, is our wholesale side. Mm-hmm. And we work with a lot of different. You sort of touched on a bunch of different businesses, nonprofit, for-profit, all sorts of different businesses for things they're needing for events. Swag up their employees, whatever it may be. So. Really sort of like twofold. Yeah. So retail and wholesale.
Yeah. And now your newest thing is Beer Hop.
Yep.
Which I think is one of the cooler things that I've seen you do, because it's something that's not really out there.
Yeah.
Kind of found a little niche in the Oklahoma City market. In Tulsa, is that up in Tulsa?
Not yet. Okay. Not yet. Fingers crossed. Yep. That will be the next market if and when we do expand. Okay. But yeah, no, it's something, it's not really something I can take credit for. I've been to different markets like Denver, Portland, you have different little passports, maps, things like that. I had seen it years ago, but at the time, this was before the laws changed in 2016. And no one was really going to tap rooms because
Yeah.
why, So I kind of held on to the idea. And then when things started rolling and started going, and as I started working with more breweries, I was like, this makes sense,
Yep.
because I can design it and I know how to publish it. I already know.
Yeah.
So yeah, really proud of it. It's it's in its infancy. There's a lot of things planned. But yeah, mainly it's a craft beer guide for OKC.
Yeah.
On the digital side, meaning social media, and then of course on the publishing side. So,
Okay.
Which you can find at all the breweries, and hopefully more places in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's go. All right. Let's go back to Mint. So when did you start Mint?
So it was founded November 1st of 2012.
Okay, so we used to, in our homebrew club, we used to joke that you're like the godfather of breweries. Like if you weren't doing business with John, you must not have a brewery yet, or like you had to get John's permission before starting a brewery. So that's how we met. Was you were doing some work with breweries and we were wanting to get started, and so it was good to find somebody that could really help us out with our logo that we used to have and our T-shirt designs and stuff. What I want to get into is, so in the intro we kind of touched into, you did some film and video photography work. You had a job.
Yep.
Working for somebody else.
Yep.
And I read, so I had you send me an email just kind of giving some background, and I read something in there that was really interesting to me that we actually haven't really, I don't think we've ever talked about before. But you mentioned the fact that you kind of became a really bad employee, and whether it was work ethic or whatever, because you maybe you can tell us why, but maybe it was because you didn't enjoy working for somebody else, or you didn't have that passion that comes with being an entrepreneur. So what really led from you having that job working for somebody else to wanting to start your own business and be an entrepreneur?
Well, early on, I never planned or cared to own my own business. I never really thought about it. I honestly was like I just didn't really know what I wanted to do. Other than graphic design, I didn't really know what I was going to do. Well, anyway, I got a job at a local company in Norman, producing headwear, and it was awesome. I got to go in and basically design headwear for mainly colleges, but other local accounts. I got to learn, we had several factories overseas, and so I communicated with them, in regards of like sourcing and proofing different products. So I really got sort of fine-tuned into the whole manufacturing aspect of retail. And but over time it really started wearing on me. There was just a lot of politics. I'm sure everyone has their own story, but I felt like I was, doing a great job, had different ideas, thought outside the box, had good looks, had the work ethic. I mean, everything about me, in my opinion, not to sound arrogant, but I felt like, I felt like I should have been heard. And, just month after year, it's like I could only take so much. And I just couldn't stand it. It started affecting my work. It affected my attitude more than anything. I was almost just resentful of everyone. I was applying for other jobs, couldn't get any. And it's something I don't really talk about a whole lot, but I don't know if I was, but I might have been depressed. I just couldn't wait for happy hour every single day. It was one of those things. And so I know I kind of wrote in that email, but I went to a friend's wedding in Tulsa in the summer of 2011, and just going there, and we were walking about downtown Tulsa in this area called the Blue Dome District, and there was this little shop called Boomtown Tees. We went in. They had some really cool local shirts, all like Tulsa-ish. And I just thought it was really cool. We were just kind of looking around. I was going to buy something, and then the guy that was working the cash register happened to be the owner, and we just started talking with him, and he showed me like the back of the shop where they print everything, and I just it was literally like I was like, boom. I was like, I know what I can do. Even if I'm miserable at my job, I can do something outside of my job that makes me happy, and then hopefully that leads to being at full time. That's kind of really how it started. And I mean, I started doing all the research about how to incorporate or not incorporate LLC, trademark stuff, get logos. I mean, all the works. And I mean, that's literally how it started, man. I mean, I was wouldn't say rock bottom or anything, but I was pretty miserable. And like literally out of frustration and misery, this happened. You know what I mean? I don't know if I would have had the light bulb moment if I was in a good place. I really don't know. But that's kind of how it all began.
So do you feel like the misery and the just being unhappy with your job, do you feel like that kind of really made it to where you didn't have a lot of fear to take the step to be an entrepreneur? Because what I'm hearing is like it was almost like a survival instinct thing. It was almost like I have to do this because I just can't work for somebody else anymore. But a lot of people I talk to talk about a fear, like there was something they wanted to do for a long time and they just never could take the step. Do you feel like that need to do something different made you not even think about the fear?
Exactly. I didn't think about it at all. I mean, it was somewhat low risk in the sense that I wasn't going to go find a shop, buy a whole lot of equipment. I mean, at the time I was outsourcing and things like that, but none of that even went through my brain. I mean, I think in my head at the time, all I thought was I have to find something else. I have to do something. And even though it was, I think, largely out of fear, I mean, it kind of worked because I've always loved fashion. Always have, and I really never even pieced it together or intentionally anyway. But I had a background in embroidery and things like that. I had taken classes of screen printing in college. I had history with vinyl and things like that through running and coaching soccer teams and things like that. So I sort of already knew about all these application processes, and I thought, I'm a designer, why not do this? But I think really to simply answer your question is I didn't even come across my brain other than my wife, the financial side, keeping the, let's not do too much, right away or anything. But pretty much.
So, okay. So what really, I know so you didn't have to deal with the fear quite as much. I mean, I'm sure there was a little bit, but I know there was for you maybe some stuff to learn as far as how that business works and that kind of stuff. Did you have, people, mentors, people to look up to, people to talk to try to help you kind of really get it going? Or was this just like literally a YouTube, Google education type thing? I mean, you had the background,
sure,
but
I would say for the most part, it was a learn as I go process. The mentors I had were not necessarily in my field or even entrepreneurs. They were, my parents or friends, things like that. But I mean, it'd be unfair to say that it was like all me. I mean, I did talk. I had a couple friends that were lawyers, and I talked to them. Trying to figure out the legal side and what I needed to do. I knew someone that already had a screen printing shop. Talked with them about what's the right step for what I'm wanting to do, things like that, pick brains.
Yeah. I mean, I think because the reason I ask is I think a lot of people, and I was kind of in this phase before I started as well, but I think a lot of people think they have to have it all figured out. Like they have to really know how to do everything great and how to be the best right off the bat. And they don't understand that a lot of entrepreneurs start out just, learning like anybody else and figuring it out as they go. And the real key is just to kind of get started. Yeah. And so, I mean, I think that's if I could say something I wish I would have done a little bit differently, would have been just starting a lot sooner, instead of overthinking it and being frozen by trying to get it perfect, that type of thing. So
I think a lot of entrepreneurship is just doing.
Yeah. Get started.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
So now we've had this COVID-19 thing. It's put everybody, all the businesses have been tested. There's been tough times, that kind of stuff. When you come across tough times in your business, challenges, whether it's maybe sales aren't what they should be, or I'm sure in your world sometimes creatively you kind of get hit a time where you just don't feel quite as creative. When you hit challenges like that, what motivates you to get through that and keep going? As an entrepreneur.
Primarily not to fail. Now, that's twofold because I'll say this: you can't be afraid of failure if you're owning a business. A lot of the time, you're learning when you fail, and that's the best time to learn. But I'm talking about failure in the sense of just almost respect from my peers, family, things like that.
Yeah.
I don't want to fail them. Not that they're invested in any way, but just emotionally, like I don't want to fail anyone that, thought that this was going to work or whatever. And so I think honestly, that's my main focus. And, in those tough times, obviously you're going to have tough days. I'm a pretty optimistic person, so I try to find other ways too. Yeah. But I think it's a failure in the sense of my friends and family and things like that.
You think that being optimistic, that mindset, has played a big role in your success? Or?
Absolutely, yeah. I even in the toughest times, I try to spin it in a way. Yeah. I try to find a way to spin it. To me, there's always a silver lining. Sometimes I'm literally making it up. Yeah. But if it makes me feel better at that time, then sure, whatever works.
Have you been watching The Last Dance?
Gosh, no. And I cannot wait to see it. I'm going to watch them all in a row.
Were you a Jordan fan?
So I didn't start watching basketball until '99.
Yeah. Okay.
I only watched baseball and football before that. I don't really know why. Maybe because Oklahoma didn't have a team. Yeah. And I grew up in Tulsa where all you had was TU basketball. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe so I knew of Jordan. Yeah. And I'd catch him every now and then, but I wouldn't say I was a fan.
Well, the reason I ask, so you talked about spinning things, turning a negative into a positive or whatever, or even making things up sometimes, right? I do that a lot. And I got that, I really believe, from being a huge Michael Jordan fan growing up. So a lot of the stuff that's come out in this documentary is stuff I already knew because I was obsessed with Michael Jordan and the Bulls forever. But he's always been known for finding ways to motivate himself and finding ways to find something somebody said or did. Maybe they didn't actually say it or do it, but he'll say that they did, and it gets him motivated, and he'll go put up 55 points on them the next game or whatever,
Sure.
And I think that's a big time, a life hack that I've tried to tap into over time, But I find that interesting that you're capable of doing that. So.
Even if it's a simple social media post that I see that it's man, I can do that better. Yeah. It wasn't really anything that I needed necessarily, but maybe at that time. Yep. You know what I mean? I'm very competitive too. Yeah. That should probably be a part of the equation.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's me, man. I can remember when we first came out with Fancy Dance. And a lot of people are like, man, that's a great beer. That's a great beer. And all I talked about was how it wasn't right. It wasn't there yet. And I would see, 20 or 30 people on Untapped or social media that would, praise it and give it a good score. And then there'd be that one person, and they pointed out something about it that's exactly what I was thinking. It's the exact reason why I'm not happy with it, But I would take that and turn it around and try to make it better. And I think it's improved over time. And I think finding those little mental hacks in life is a huge key to developing as an entrepreneur, becoming more successful in business. You and I have talked. I struggle with working out consistently, and you're a runner. That's something I really wish I was able to do more of. I freaking hate running, dude. I hate it. I wish I could run all the time. But when I do get in the mode of running, what works for me a lot of times is this little hack. I trick myself. And I'll put my shoes, I'll wear my shorts that I'm going to run in. I'll wear them to bed at night. I'll have my shoes and socks right there where I'll basically stumble over them in the morning, Yep. And if I set myself up that way and I get rid of every excuse, then it helps quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to find what works, man. I like running more than you, but I'd be lying if I said I love it, but it's, I don't know. It's what works for you. Everyone's different, but yeah.
I always thought you were a good example of how physical health really benefits the health of your company, because I know you stay pretty active. Like we said, you like to run, but every time I meet with you, every time we sit down to work on something, you just have a lot of energy. Yeah. And it seems like your creative juices are always pumping, and I know that's got to come from working out. Do you look at your physical health like that? Is that something where you think, okay, this is really key to my business?
I Jake, I've actually never thought of that. But I wouldn't be surprised, I guess. I think the way Shelly and I, eat more often, we obviously splurge, but the way we eat and the way we exercise, I think do play a role in our energy levels and the way, we conduct ourselves. But that's actually, I've never thought about that. You might be right.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit more kind of business stuff. So let's get into your world of what you do. So you work with, like we said, a lot of different companies.
Yep.
We kind of had a little conversation before we went on a little while ago about just the state of like some of these businesses, particularly restaurants and stuff. I can remember December, January, February, maybe even before that, but definitely before the virus, right? I can remember starting to see restaurants close down.
Yep.
After we'd had this huge splurge of restaurants opening. And finally Oklahoma City had become like this great place for food and restaurants, or it was starting to become that way. So if they were struggling before the virus, it's going to be interesting to see what happens after this. Who knows when after is, but moving forward from now. So you work closely with a lot of, I'm not asking you to name businesses or names, but what are you hearing and seeing that people in those industries are afraid of? I mean, what do you kind of foresee in the future in those industries?
Yeah, it's tough. And I think you're right. Before all this hit, I mean, I don't know what saturation is, but I do feel like we were getting a lot, per capita. So I think that already had an effect.
Yeah.
And this obviously didn't help, but I don't know, but my guess is we're going to see some more probably close. And I hate to see it, they may be friends or customers of mine.
Yeah.
But this is hard on everyone, it's on all industries. So I think we're going to see, we're going to find out, and I don't think it's going to be great, but I'm hopeful that most will be able to pull out.
Yeah.
Time will tell, I suppose.
Yeah. So what about your business? Has the virus, tell us kind of how you've gotten through the past, 3 months now? Has it had the impact on your business?
It definitely did. We probably, in probably about a 3-week period, we only had a couple orders come through. At this time of year, it would have been more like 20 or 30.
Yeah.
And then not only orders in the sense of like wholesale apparel, but on the graphic design side, that took a hit as well.
Yeah.
Not many people need anything. So it definitely took a hit.
Yeah.
Luckily for us, we were able to secure a PPP loan from the government that helped us, really retain our employee.
Yeah.
We hired just before this all happened.
Yep.
Great timing. But luckily, we're good there. And not a lot of people know this, but Ment and Beer Hop is operated out of my home. Yeah. So our overhead is fairly low.
Yep.
So all I can say is we definitely took a hit, and it didn't help, and it hurt, and it's still hurting. However, we may be in a little bit better position than some others.
Yeah.
Fortunately. So, I mean, it's, it sucks.
I definitely feel like the damage hasn't actually fully hit yet.
Yeah, I know.
I think, like you mentioned, the PPP loan, and the one thing about these governments deciding to open things back up is now that means you're going to have some of the assistance is going to dry up. The PPP loan money that you got is going to dry up, but people still aren't ready to really get out. Just maybe go to a bar where it's like shoulder to shoulder, that kind of stuff. I know in our business we're worried about that. So it'll be interesting. I definitely think the next 2 months is key. I think that's when we're going to really see like who survives. But I don't know who are the type of entrepreneurs that survive this. Like you mentioned earlier when we were talking creativity, people being more creative. Mm-hmm. What's it going to take to come out the other side of this?
Well, I think you're going to have to get creative, like you said. And I do think some of it's going to have to do with luck a little bit, unfortunately. But I do think a lot of it can be controlled if you if you can get, unique and different and, gets outside of the box a little bit.
Yeah.
Obviously we've seen deliveries. I know Able allowed, breweries to do deliveries, liquor stores and things like that. But like in other industries, where you don't have to battle legal issues, like find a way to do things.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you have to be happy with it, but I mean, it's fight or flight, Unfortunately, I don't mean that to make it sound, I mean, it's unfortunate we're in this scenario, but you have to be able to think outside the box a little bit, I think, and just try to figure out what have we not done that we could do right now that would still maybe apply to our customers, our client base, whatever. So
I'm definitely scared for the people, and a lot of the same people I know. So like I see, you'll see this sometimes with breweries especially, but I do worry for the people who their business is based around their old hobby, right? And maybe they don't look at their business as a business quite as much. And, such a great time to open a brewery before the virus. It was such a great time. We had law changes to allow a tap room. And so that made it easier for some people to start a brewery. And so I fear for the people who didn't realize how much of a business it was and how savvy you got to be as a business person. That's the kind of stuff that really I'm worried about, how many of those people don't make it through.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, actually, my job before I went full-time, I worked for Cisco Foods for a few years, and I had no background in foods. I mean, I was never a chef, a bartender. I was always, my jobs younger were always either in retail or like packaging.
Yeah.
Like working in a warehouse or something. So I didn't know anything about food, but I was the design marketing coordinator. And so I learned how to develop menus, create menus, how to engineer it to where it basically people end up ordering more profitable items.
Yeah.
Learned a lot about it. It was kind of interesting. But I also met a lot of people that had no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
One, the restaurant industry is the number one failing industry in the country.
Yeah.
Or at least it was when I was at Cisco. And I talked to people that would come in that were our clients, and I would, tell them what I know. And then we'd have all these people that were all good at what they did.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot listening to some of these people that, just wanted to open a bar because they thought it was fun.
Yeah.
And I don't know, you know what I mean? We tried to help and we could only do what we could, but I'm sure there's a lot of those people.
Yeah. It's definitely the fittest are going to come through on the other side of this whole thing. So, okay. So you want to talk a little bit beer? So,
as I take a drink, let's do it.
Okay. So we talked earlier about saturation in restaurants.
Yeah.
I've actually had people in Oklahoma say, man, aren't you worried about the beer scene, the brewery scene in Oklahoma becoming too saturated?
Yeah.
And it's interesting that people say that when you look at our numbers compared to other states that, where we don't even have the fraction of breweries of even like a North Carolina. I think, before we opened, there were more breweries in Albuquerque, New Mexico than there were in the entire state of Oklahoma. And that's a pretty comparable.
I never heard that. That's nuts.
But so what do you think? Do you think Oklahoma's close to being saturated in breweries, or do you think we still have miles to go?
I don't. Saturation as far as the state's concerned, I think we have a lot of room.
Yeah.
I think, everyone talks about, oh, well, are we getting saturated? Well, there's a lot here, there's a lot here, there's a lot there. I get that, but the whole craft beer industry, their clients are all sort of fans of all of them. Yeah. And it's not one of those things where you go to a certain district, you go to a brewery and you go home. That's not usually the way it works. And so their clienteles all support each other.
Yeah.
And so I don't think we are. Now, that said, I don't know what saturation level is. I don't know what that would be. But I still think we have a lot of room, because I think what's going to end up happening is in time, you're going to see some, go into the suburbs, and you're already starting to see more go into the rural towns in Oklahoma.
Hyper local.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then some of them may not distribute, and some of them may just operate as, a smaller operation, bar, tap room. So I think we have some ways to go. But it is something to think about. I mean, if you haven't already opened a brewery, or if you're thinking about doing it in 2025, it's something to at least consider. But I don't think we're there. I think we have some room.
It's interesting. Sure. The situation we're in now with the virus might change the definition of saturated.
It might. We don't know yet.
Yeah. What about in your industry? I mean, I've worked with you almost just with you since we started the brewery. We haven't really used anybody else. So what's the competition like that you face in the business that you're in? Is there a lot of competition for you?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I don't think a lot of people really understand sort of what we do or even the vision. And so to answer the question quickly, is we definitely have some competitors. I'm not going to name them, but there's several of them around in Oklahoma City. And they all do good jobs. The way Ment works is we outsource all our production because early on when I had a day job, that's the only way I could do it. I couldn't go home and then immediately, screen print 150 shirts. It just wasn't going to happen. So I learned early that I eat the margin and outsource. Well, we continue to do that today. We have partners all around the city based on what job, and so we definitely have a lot of competitors, but I personally built this company not as necessarily a screen printing shop. I built it as a brand. And that more than anything is why we differ from everyone else, because I don't think of us as a shop. Sure, we wholesale and we will do a killer job getting you some custom stuff. But first and foremost, we're a brand. Long term, we plan on manufacturing, having our own line. Basically bringing the fashion industry to Oklahoma City. And building up regional and national retailers, customers and things like that. So that's big term, or big plan. So while we do have competitors, I don't really think of it that way, because I think of us more as retail in the big picture. Okay. So I know, definitely if the industries that you serve, if their the economy's down and their business is down, that has a direct effect on your business. So if this continues for longer, or the ramp back up is slower than expected, what does John Knight do to pivot to kind of maybe the next move or something different to create revenue? Well, it's interesting. Basically I would focus more on retail, because while we all are struggling, people are still wanting to support local and spend their money on things. They may just be ordering it online. So I would probably invest heavily more into retail, and that is the plan long term. But we might have to fast forward that track a little bit. And get a little bit serious about what can we do online? How can we reach more people across the country? Things like that. And it might be craft beer related. I don't know. We've thought about some stuff, but we would have to, like I said earlier, get creative and figure out a way to fast track some of these sort of thoughts. But I think online retail has shown that it is still working.
During this whole thing, being isolated at home and stuff like that, have you mentally, has it taken a hit on you as far as your ability to focus on the company or to stay positive and think about those new ideas?
I think all, yes. I am positive, but there's moments during this thing where it's downright depressing. I'm an extrovert. I like people. I love being around people. Always have, and so I'm forced to be inside for several weeks, and it has let me sort of focus on some of those other things that have fallen to the wayside business wise, which is good, but still, absolutely. It's depressing, really, and I know people that are affected by it. So that's also depressing, on a personal side. So, it's hard to deal with, but I don't know any other way than to just keep pushing. I don't know any other way. I don't know, like we were talking about Michael Jordan. I may not be Michael Jordan, and I'm not comparing myself to it, but I don't give up. I don't know how to give up. So, whether that means I form another company or do something else, I have no idea. But we're just going to keep clawing.
One of the things I think that you and I have in common as far as the way our businesses operate is we're all about the relationships with our customers, right? And I found it really difficult. Like, I don't even know, like, is it cool yet to go knock on doors and meet with possible clients and try to sell them beer? You know, those are the things. Has that been stuff you've kind of thought of? Like, man, when do I try to reach out to these people and say, hey, can I come by and show you something? I mean,
I know. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Like, you know, everyone's having second thoughts about everything. It's
Yeah.
like we're all second guessing ourselves. You know, I don't have to get out in person as much as your industry. But yeah, sure. Like there are clients I would love to go see that I have good relationships with, and even though I can email and text them, you know, I want them to know that, you know, I care.
Yeah.
And so seeing them in person would be more beneficial and things like that. So sure. But it's like, you know, what do I, you know, like, do I go? Do I not go? I don't know. It's so weird, you know, like we're still sort of adapting to all of this.
It's odd, dude. You know, I'm used to seeing you like two or three times a month at least, you know, and when you walked in earlier, I was like, man, I haven't seen this guy in like 3 months.
Yeah. It's been a while.
So it's almost, I look at it too, though. It's almost like a reset button. It's like in a lot of different aspects of our businesses at the end of all this, or as we're coming out of it, we all get to kind of start at the same spot. Yeah. You know? And so like for us, you know, we're going to come out with a bunch of new beers and stuff, you know, it's like all the things I wish I'd kind of done. Now I kind of get this chance to do it now, you know, it's kind of a weird feeling, but I definitely miss the face to faces, dude. I miss like, I'm not a caller, like a cold caller. Mm-hmm. I'm not the type of person that likes to call people and be on the phone. I love face to face, you know, because I feel like half of my ability to sell something to somebody is them to see and hear my passion behind what I'm doing, you know? Yep. So that's definitely difficult. So are you consuming more content since you've been at home, or that's YouTube, podcast? What are you into? You like to read?
I would like to read if I wasn't so ADD. I've always hated reading. I'll read one page and have to reread it. Yeah. And then maybe have to reread it a third time because I just can't.
Start thinking about something else while you're reading it.
Yes.
And then you're like, oh, I just read the whole page and don't even know what I read.
Yeah, like I'm reading this book and then all of a sudden I'm thinking about mowing and I have to mow and then I didn't, you know, so I've always had to deal with that. So luckily audiobooks are a thing. Yeah. So yeah, I do listen to audiobooks. My favorite, my favorite are like business. I listen to business podcasts and business audiobooks. Yvon Chouinard is one of my big time mentors. I love his book, Let My Employees Go Surf. Yeah. I think that's what it's called. You should check it out if you haven't. Anyway, he's the founder CEO of Patagonia. Oh yeah. And not only, like, he doesn't even consider today even like 2020, he doesn't even consider himself a business person. Like, you know what I mean? Like he never sought after that. Yeah. And so I've just really enjoyed other people's stories because I love learning. I like to hear the really like intense details. A lot of the things that podcasts don't get into, like the financials, like how you did this and how you did this. And so anyway, I find all the nuts and bolts, because a lot of them, it's just like, it's the background. And then, you know, you have to do it all in 30 minutes to an hour. And, you know, you can't really cover all of that. But the audiobooks get into a lot more detail, and I've really been interested in that. Like Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. Mm-hmm. Man, Nike. That one is awesome. Yeah. It's right in my alley too. Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, like I love listening to that stuff. I've listened to a lot more podcasts during this time. I love playing video games too. Yeah. I've been playing a lot of NBA 2K. There you go. Getting my player, getting him all repped up. Yep. Oh man. Yeah.
So if these people that you've listened to or read, you know, books or whatever, is there a company out there? I know you mentioned Patagonia. Is there a company that has like the culture and the way of doing things that you really want to model Ment after?
I mean, a lot of it is Patagonia, honestly. I mean, there's several others. I know.
So isn't Patagonia? I mean, Patagonia is big into a lot of environmental causes and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, they're very much about, you know, trying to help the earth. You know, we have all this, you know, there's a pollution problem. Yep. And even though they are a part of the problem, which he will admit, their carbon footprint is way, way less than a lot of the people their size. And I don't know, like I've always sort of respected the fact that they're private, or at least I think they're private. Last time I heard, I've a little bit of me is I didn't realize this till I was older, but I've never liked like taking orders.
Yeah.
It's the reason I was never good in school.
Yeah.
It's the reason I wasn't good in college. It's the reason I probably, to a degree, wasn't good at some of my jobs. Yeah. I never really liked taking orders from anyone. Yeah. And it's not, I don't know where it comes from, but I guess what I'm referring that to is, you know, I always hear these stories of like companies going public and things like that. But like, as soon as you go public, you're letting all these other people in, you know, and, you know, make the decisions. You can't simply make a decision at that point. Yeah. Now you have to like go through all these other people. And so I sort of respected that because I've never really cared about money. I just want to be comfortable and I want to do the right thing. And I just think that the whole Patagonia model has always sort of inspired me a lot. Yeah.
So what does John Knight want to be known for as a businessman when he when people look back at what you've done with Mint, Beer Hop, maybe future endeavors that you move into? What do you hope people know John Knight for?
Doing the right thing, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I take great pride in the customer service aspect of Mint because I truly feel like everyone's a person. We may have disagreements on politics or religion or other things, but you're still a person. And I believe in treating everyone like a human. And I feel like if you treat someone like a human, you're going to get the same in return to a degree. And so, I don't know, just maybe the right thing, you know, maybe, you know, helping people get product that helps them more successful, things of that nature. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people don't really use empathy and kindness as a tactic anymore.
I know.
Honestly, that gets you so much further. Before we start, it's crazy. I just had a phone call with a manager from one of our big accounts in Oklahoma City, a big sports bar. And he had met with a brewery owner earlier today who's just now getting into distribution and he talked about putting beer on at their place. And he just wanted to call me because he was to tell me about how he had this conversation with this guy and how he'd mentioned that, hey man, this is how you really should do it. And he talked about how, you know, Jake brings his family up and every time we hold an event, he's a big part of it. We have a relationship.
Yep.
The way he treats us, we feel like we're actually business partners instead of just somebody buying his beer. And I don't know, man, like I just feel like that's the way you're supposed to do it. It's not like necessarily something that I do because it's going to get me more sales. I just feel like it's so much more fun in any of these businesses if the people that you're selling to or doing business with are your friends.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like an actual relationship.
Yeah.
For me, it's a lot easier because like you said, I have more of the face-to-face time in the beer industry. I mean, what are the things that John does with Mint or Beer Hop that's helped you really build these relationships with different people? I mean, I know you're like in the craft beer scene's big for you because you're getting to be in a lot of these events and stuff.
Well, I think like, you know, I think you literally just touched on it. I part of what helps this business grow is, you know, relationships and kind of, we touched on it earlier, and I just enjoy having those.
Yeah.
So if me just enjoying having relationships as a person helps the business, then that just makes it easier. I don't think of it as just like you said, I don't think of it as, oh, you know, I'm going to work to go, you know, talk to this person, you know what I mean? Like, I think of business as relationships, and the more relationships I have, like meaningful relationships, not just a phone number. Yeah. The more relationships I have, the more impactful our businesses is to theirs and vice versa. Yeah. And so to me, it's a win-win, and it's like it's not even like, it's not a choice. It's just part of like what I do. And I think it's part of what you do too, which makes you so strong, is because you just genuinely like people and you want to talk to them. Yeah.
I'm surprised sometimes when I talk to people about business, and it's usually the people who are not in business that'll say this, but the term cutthroat gets used a lot, that, this business is cutthroat, you know, or business in general is cutthroat. And I don't know. I don't really feel that, right? It's like, okay, if I see somebody that's kind of acting that way, I just don't do business with them anymore. You know, like I don't feel like any of the sales or anything that we've achieved with Skydance came from some sort of cutthroat tactic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it probably makes you feel better as a person.
Yeah.
I there's been times where, we've had to, make decisions and it impacts someone else. But I'll say this, for the most part, if I have to hurt someone to get something, I just won't do it.
Yeah.
I don't prefer to do business that way.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't hit the numbers that I hope to hit.
Yeah.
But you know what? I sleep at night and I just don't choose to do business that way. So, like we'll even have customers approach us, that I'm sure you probably talked to some, but, that are very rude and inconsiderate. And luckily for us, I have the ability to say no. Yeah. And that's my choice. And I don't believe the customer is always right. Whoever said that is completely wrong. And, listen, you should obviously listen to the customer and try to do the best job. But if they're being unreasonable, then that doesn't apply. Yeah.
It's nice to be able to position yourself in a way to where you don't have to do business with somebody you don't want to do business with.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like, to me, a strategy to really take into consideration when you're starting a business,
Yeah, because early on, like I was just taking every order I could, and there was some really bad, transactions. So yeah, I'm fortunate to be able to and I'm fortunate to be able to say no. So.
Especially in your business, right? Yeah. It's like you create, especially the apparel side, like stuff you've done for us, shirts and really like the can design, right? It's like, man, if you had to create a design for a company that didn't align with maybe the morals or ethics that you have, I could see that being really painful.
And I've been there, done that, and today, I may not know this right off the bat, but in today, like I would eventually just cut that relationship off. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I've been there, and it's tough because, we put our logo on the back of people's shirts that want them. And there have been some customers that wanted them that are going on shirts that I don't, want the company representing. And so that's been a difficult conversation. It's like, how do you explain to them that you don't want, your brand on their brand?
Yeah. How long do you think it took you to get from the point of like, I've got to say yes to everything to, okay, you know what? I've got this going good enough that now I can kind of pick and choose who I do business with.
Well, I don't know a time and place, but I would probably say it was about the time. It was a little after the time that I started going full time, which would have been January of 2017. Yeah. So I've only been full time at this a little over 3 years. It was about maybe a little bit longer than that, like 2017, mid 2017 ish. Yeah. Yeah, but at some point I was like, you know what? I don't have to say yes to everything, and it made me feel really, really good. Yeah. Not because I'm lazy. It's just there are people that are just not good people.
Vampires. They suck the life out of you.
Yeah. Exactly. That's it. Yes. Yeah. Vampires. Yep.
Yeah. Not having to dip your toes in that water can feel really good. Yeah.
Yeah. And I understand that price is a consideration for everyone. If you say otherwise, it's because you have so much money you don't really care. Yeah. So I get it, but I've built this company. I've always thought of everything as quality and not quantity. Yep. So if I get someone that's, trying to price shop and all that sort of stuff, and I just say no. I mean, sorry, we're not the right fit for you. I mean, I'm not trying to rip you off. I'm just giving you our price. Yep. If you don't feel like that's just the way it is. Yeah.
So what are some of the coolest projects you've worked on with Ment? I mean, I know you did. Didn't you do some stuff with the soccer team, right?
The energy that was quite fun. I'm not doing anything with them currently. Yeah. They've sort of shifted the way they do their merchandise. But that was really fun. That kind of, I've always been I grew up playing soccer, so that wasn't just me trying to get in. I mean, I was passionate about it. Yeah. But honestly, like, not just because you're here, but like you and Frenzy have been probably the funnest. Funnest, is that a word?
The most fun.
The most fun I've had like on the design side, because it's just you all have a brand, and I'm just trying to I'm more involved, and that's been the funnest thing.
So do you get more enjoyment on that side of your business, or more enjoyment on like the apparel that you created? Because like I remember, what was the shirt, the walrus thing, right?
Oh yeah,
I mean that was pretty popular.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, do you enjoy that kind of stuff, like creating your own thing, or do you enjoy more like working for doing work for companies like ours?
Both. Really, my biggest pleasure is having the customer be happy. That's really ultimately it. But on the creative side, to have more freedom, that's obviously more enjoyable, I guess. So even if it's on the retail side, designing walrus or whatever, or it's your cans, you know what I mean? Like that freedom and that creativity are the funnest. Funnest. I might as well just So funnest. The funnest part of what I do, I think. Yeah.
So okay, let's couple just real quick questions, just so people I want people to have a real good feel for kind of what it's like to be an entrepreneur. So habits, do you have key habits that you focus on in your daily life, whether it's a morning habit or evening habits, stuff that you do every single day that you think benefits you as a business person?
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about exercise, but
yeah, I think exercise is a key part of it because it keeps my mind clear. But I think mornings are probably more important. And it's funny because I'm not a morning person, which is, it's so counterintuitive from that comment, because I think what I try to do is my day really starts at about 10 a.m. because a lot of my customers are not up early. They're not emailing me, they're not calling me, things like that. So I look at, from about 7 to about 10, I look at that time frame as like I get a lot done, and I do a lot of the invoicing, a lot of the stuff that will get put aside if I have a busy day or a busy week. And so I think that morning routine with my coffee and sitting at the computer uninterrupted is very important, along with the running, because the running, especially if I have a stressful day, the running will sort of alleviate a lot of that stress.
So as far as just what that morning, that free time that's more of a work thing than it is just you kind of meditating or whatever. That's just your time to kind of really get stuff done that's been set aside or whatever. In
terms of like meditating, I would say it's more on the running side. That's when I meditate. I just completely let loose and I just kind of like zone out. It's really therapeutic.
I guess I better ask them. Coffee? Are you Are you a drip guy? Are you a French press guy? You just throw it in the coffee maker?
Well, so for the most part, we just throw it in the coffee maker because that's easy. But we do have a French press, and I'll be honest, I'm not very good at it yet. In fact, Shelly's the one that does it the most. But I'm becoming a big coffee snob because those French press pours are fantastic. I mean, it's same coffee bean. We may be grinding it the same morning and putting it in the coffee pot, but you do the same thing with the French press. It's night and day, man.
I'll tell you, the longer process to me is therapeutic. It's like I do a lot of kind of thinking while I'm making coffee, Lately it's warmed up, so we've been real big on the cold brew coffee. So there's really no like process there in the morning. I've done that one day, and then I will have cold brew made already for 4 or 5 days. So when we're on this cold brew kick, I love the cold brew, but I miss that. Sometimes I miss that little process in the morning of making the coffee. And
because that's part of it. Even though it takes longer, that all of that is part of, what you enjoy.
Okay. So I want to talk about Beer Hop for a minute. I know like it's fairly new. So when did Beer Hop start?
It launched basically February of 2019.
Okay. So again, kind of give people a rundown of exactly what it is, because I know we do a lot of stuff with it. We'll put events that we're having in there so people will know about that. But as far as for the customer side, the guy sitting at the tap room bar, what do they get out of Beer Hop?
So right now, and we completely recognize this, but right now, if you picked it up, it's outside of this latest issue. All before, it was mainly geared towards really the tourist, right? It's really mainly, to let everyone know that maybe doesn't know where all these breweries are, know everything about them, where they are, all the taproom information. Can you bring your kids? Can you not bring your kids? So it was more of a guide along with a map and all that sort of stuff, had all the contact information. But our job, because I realized that is not a long-term recipe for success, because eventually we have to appeal to the locals. Yeah. And if not more so. Yeah. Otherwise, they're going to stop picking it up. So we've started adding content. We added Beer Dog. Everyone loves dogs. So now basically it allows people to be able to submit their dog, and it might get published into the next issue. And so we're doing things like that. Now, eventually, long term, I actually want to get some articles. Maybe it's about a brewer, a brewery. Start adding more content that rotates every quarter. And who knows? Maybe we get it to the point where it's every month. I don't know, but eventually, I want this not only to be a guide for someone coming in from out of town, but I also want it to be sort of like a mini magazine. Cool. But on the flip side, have a digital footprint. With the social media, get enough followers to where, if a brewery has, 2,000 and we have 15, we can certainly help. So it's really about promoting the breweries. And then obviously bigger picture is other markets.
So what led to you really veering towards the craft beer side of things with both of your businesses so much?
It's because I love beer.
You just love beer.
Yeah. A lot of the reason I did things with soccer, I did things with running and cycling, it's all based on passions. So beer is just another one of those. It's I loved craft beer. I remember when I first got into it in college, I couldn't afford it, and I couldn't stand it. That I couldn't, it was $6.99 a 6-pack of Flying Dog or whatever it was. I couldn't afford it. But I just love craft beer, and going around to different cities. I'd always, I'd go to the breweries. I'm sure you did too. And I always just thought the merch was just so blah. And like
an afterthought.
So, the first thought, like before I even had the map idea, or, before we executed it with Ment, like I was like, we should change this. Like this is like every shirt was black and it had white print. And it was gray and black print. You know what I mean? It was very, not to say though that isn't good. That's good to have. But there was nothing that had character. There was nothing that spoke to anyone. And someone that loves color, I certainly didn't love anything I was seeing. So that was sort of kind of not only my love of craft beer, but it also, I saw an opportunity.
So do you recommend to somebody who's maybe thinking they want to be an entrepreneur, they want to start their business, do you recommend that they follow their passion, or is it more like find something that's profitable, find something that's got maybe a niche that nobody's in yet?
That's a good question. I'd probably say both. Whether you have passion or whether you see an opening, I'd say both. For me, it was passion based, and a little bit out of necessity, I guess. But so I can't really speak to the other side because I didn't do this based on seeing an opening. I just had passion, and then I saw openings as an afterthought or secondary. But I would say both. If you have a passion for something, go for it. Like I was miserable, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that could speak to to that sort of scenario where they just hate their job or they hate their boss or whatever. I don't know. And do what you want. I mean, luckily in this country, we can, we have a lot of opportunity. I know it's not easy. You have to be willing to go through a lot of work and a lot of, failure, but do it if you want to do it.
And if you can get both, that's like the magic.
If you get both, jackpot.
Yeah. Okay, man. So I'm just one last question for you. So it's kind of somewhat related there to, advice to entrepreneurs. So, I call this the one thing, right? So if you're talking with somebody comes to you and says, man, John, I want to start my own business, and I've got these ideas and here's what I'm thinking. I'm just not there yet, or I'm about to be there. what's the one thing you would tell somebody who wants to be an entrepreneur? What's the one piece of advice that you could give? You could just give them one thing. What is it?
Well, in my view, it's passion, but I realize that it's not passion for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this real quick. I operate off the 3 Ps. I call them the 3 Ps. I call it passion, patience, and persistence.
Yeah.
And I think those 3 things are ingredients to success. And so if you don't have passion, persistence is very important. Just keep at it. And, patience is sort of right there with it. Like, you're not, if you expect to be a millionaire, if that's your goal, if you expect it to happen in a year, you're fooling yourself. It could, sure, it happens, but you have to be patient. Yeah. Patient and persistence will get you a long way. And then if you have passion, that even makes it even better. Yeah.
Well, man, I appreciate you coming on, man. Dude. We've had a lot of these good conversations. We talked about having those conversations on a podcast before. So I will say, man, like when I decided to do this, there was like 2 or 3 people that I wanted to have on right off the bat, and you were definitely one of them. So I'm just glad you were available. I'm glad the virus didn't keep us from being able to do this, So, but yeah, appreciate you for coming on, brother. Cheers, man.
Yeah, man. Cheers.
So everybody, we appreciate you guys watching on YouTube, listening to us on iTunes, Spotify. John, why don't you tell everybody where they can find more information about Ment and Beer Hop?
Yeah, so the best way is you can go to mentapparel.com or you can go to beerhopokc.com, both websites, and then the social medias, so the Instagrams, the Twitter, the Facebooks, all of them, we're all in all of them, and we stay pretty active, so that's the best way to do it.
Cool. All right, guys, we appreciate everybody watching. Make sure you hit like and subscribe, and make sure you follow the 3 Ps. Cheers, guys.